On today's show, a day that Clipper fans have had marked in their calendars for months. The return of Paul George. Why is this one of the most important nights for the fan base in the history of the franchise? Going to be talking about that and more on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper content all season long. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know if you think Paul George should get cheered or booed and your feelings on him going into this game. Hopefully you're listening to this episode before the game, or maybe on your way to Intuit if you're attending. And by the way, very important to acknowledge that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter written by yours truly, introducing the Locked On Clippers daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. It's only about 500 words, a little short newsletter, basically recapping what's going on. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com, and it supports your boy. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. And this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets before an event. All you got to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONClippers for $20 off your first purchase. Now, here we go. Let's talk about Paul George. Tonight is one of the most important nights in franchise history. Let me talk about why. November 6th, 2024. Now, the Clippers haven't had too many stars in their history. In particular, stars for the Clippers, right? Now, there's a video on YouTube, if you look it up, of Elton Brand coming back to Staples Center and getting booed when he's introduced. But there was no media attention around that game. It wasn't even close to sold out. And I don't remember him getting booed every time he touched the ball. And if you have footage of that or a memory of that, please let me know. But it wasn't documented. Andre Miller, same kind of instance. I know he got booed when he returned, but he wasn't an all-star. I don't remember any media coverage around it or hearing anything about it, even when I became a fan a little after that. And I don't remember if he was booed on every touch, or don't know if he was booed on every touch. We used to hate Zach Randolph, but he never got booed on every touch except for stretches of playoff games. This would be the first time in the history of the Clipper franchise where a player comes back, sees Clipper fans, and he's getting booed every time he touches the ball. And this is why I feel like it's such an important night for the fan base. Because to me, Clipper fans have always been laughed at, always been looked at as soft. You don't care about winning. You know what I'm saying? You guys will live with anything positive, anything good. You know what I mean? Kawhi Leonard, just for example, look at the way he's been treated since he's become a Clipper by the fans. They've lifted him up. And I don't mean myself in this, obviously, but everyone else, so many people, and even Paul George when he was here, have put him on this pedestal on the franchise. We're not talking about what Kawhi Leonard has done for Toronto and for San Antonio, because if that's the case, absolutely. Top 10 small forward of all time, bar none. But we're talking about what they've done for the Clippers, right? That's all I care about in terms of my feelings towards them. Because even though I can be objective with the sport that I love more than the Clippers, the basketball, in terms of liking a player, it's nothing personal, just as what they are, which is a public figure in an entertainment industry. Of course, a human being, but I'm not saying anything dehumanizing. I just think they have gotten too much love. Like Chris Paul took us to the playoffs the first year for the first time in 5 years. We won a series. And like it was so hyped to be here. Lob City, he was like a spokesperson and face of everything, him and Blake. So he won us over right away. Lou Williams, immediately when he came, he started producing. Won us over right away. There was no disappointment with him. With Paul George and Kawhi, with the bubble, they really got off to a rocky start. And they, for me, have just gotten all this love. And Paul George, I mean, he did incredible things in 2021. So if he did take us past the second round for the first time in franchise history, so did Kawhi. Because without Kawhi, we would have never gotten there. Without Kawhi against Dallas, we would have definitely lost. So he's just as much a part of that run. But I feel like Paul George was just, he was present for every game. He was there for the moment we did it. And I think that meant a lot to the fans that were there. If you were watching on TV thousands of miles away, maybe it's not the same because it's both watching on TV. I watched Game 6 on TV from my house. It was incredible. I'll never forget it. It's the best single game in Clipper history to me by an individual, Kawhi Leonard, Game 6. But Paul George, he was the one that was there for that moment that we thought that was never going to happen for some of us. Like, I legitimately was losing hope in making it past the second round. But I still don't believe that after, with the way that he was in 2023 and 24, that he should have gotten as much defense as he did at times. I think overall with him, Clipper fans started souring on his performances. And then Kawhi Leonard, I think he's also gotten just too much love for, like, what's he been able to do? It's not all his fault. He's been hurt, but what's he been able to do? So for me, it's the 2-1-3 era came in with the first expectation, you're going to deliver a championship to the Clippers. You are going to do this. And as I said before, our franchise has always been looked at as soft in ways. You know what I mean? Kawhi and Paul George can come, they'll get to one conference finals, and they're kings of the world. And they can do no wrong. And I think we got to show that as a fan base, we feel some type of way about this. And there's the reason why. A lot of Clipper fans don't even care that he's gone. We were kind of tired of the inconsistencies because he is the most inconsistent star I've ever seen. Blake Griffin, honestly, he had some bad games, and they would be stinkers. But I wouldn't call him inconsistent overall. He was still a star player. Paul George is the most inconsistent star that I've ever seen play basketball. And it's because of his steady, at least at the stage of his career that he was in with us. I saw the same thing in the playoffs with OKC. So maybe post leg break, he just shoots a lot of jump shots, and you know how that can be. A lot of contested jump shots. He can go cold. He lives on a tough diet of those. Doesn't like to engage in physical combat. Isn't a relentless scorer in terms of appetite for scoring. And he doesn't get by he's not quick enough anymore to get by elite defenders in the league consistently anymore. But I also think he can do a better job of it and just doesn't. But anyway, and he catches the ball too high and does too much dribbling at the top of the key. But regardless, a lot of it's just how badly he wants it. And that to me was the biggest thing I had to question was his drive. You know, the last 2 years, this is the overall story. He came in and said, who's going to be able to guard us? They were talking so spicy, the whole team, when they came here. And Paul George got paid handsomely after he choked in the bubble and said comments like, we're still in the driver's seat when we blew 2 straight double-digit leads and we're on the verge of elimination and blowing a 3-1 lead, which the franchise had just blown 5 years before. I know you weren't part of that, but the fans were, the organization was, and they just didn't seem to care. They're the kings of the world when they came. And then they had to get humbled. Then the following year, we saw a different level of seriousness throughout the season and obviously the playoffs. And with Ty Lue, of course. I think that actually definitely contributes. But 2-1-3 had one good year and the rest have been disappointment. With Kawhi, a lot of it's due to injuries. With Paul George, he was there. He was injured too at times, but he was there mostly when we needed him. But was he there when we needed him in terms of what he was producing? No. And he made so many excuses and comments that came back to bite him. I mean, the comment about, I'm a glue guy. I'm okay being that. And then he needs the ball more. He needs the ball less. You know, he's the second option, but, people took that comment out of context. Like, it was just such a roller coaster experience with him. And for him to be this Mr. Clipper and act like he was team above everything and just wanted to win, said stuff like that. He got his point guard. He got his friends, Reggie, John Wall, Russell Westbrook. He said he was advocating for James Harden, or said he wanted James there. And then he proceeded to say I just want to play the right way. You know, I'm looking for somewhere where I can play the right way. I mean, was that a shot at James because you clearly were a pro Russ guy and maybe you didn't like that he went to the bench? I don't know. The fact that you weren't willing to take the same contract as Kawhi, okay, they didn't offer it to you as early, but eventually they gave it to you. You still wanted to get the most you could. And by all means, Philly's a better place for you to win a ring, I'd say. But is it? Joel Embiid's always hurt. This is a night for Clipper fans to show that we have a little bit of a spine. Paul George did a lot of things that even though he should be maybe celebrated during that tribute video, I'm not going to react, honestly. I don't know how to feel because here's the thing. Show me that tribute video in 5 years. I'll make all the noise you want for it. But right now the emotions are raw. And apparently they're going to play the tribute video before the game. If they were playing it during a timeout after we're already booing him, then I'll make some noise. But I want his first impression to be that he's getting booed. So I don't want to clap for him and then start booing. Nah, because then it feels like it's fake. To me, at least. I want us to be relentless. The wall, I'm going to be a part of it, and it's going to be relentless. He deserves it, and I want the whole country to realize the Clippers don't just have fans, they have passionate fans. And we're passionate about this. We can celebrate you a lot when you retire, Paul, but right now I want you to lose every game. And coming up, we're going to talk about what also hurts Clipper fans about the departure and looking at a preview of the game itself. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about hymns. Guys, ever you feel like you need a boost in the bedroom? It's time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing you can get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. All right, so back here talking about Paul George's return on Wednesday night, a day that we've all had marked on our calendars for a very long time. I will be in the building. I am finally in the wall officially, and there's going to be no better place to be tonight, but the supporter section is really where the noise comes from, so I'm trying to get back in there. Been able to get there because there's been empty seats in the past couple of games, but we'll see. I'm trying to get in there permanently because, I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be at every game as much as I can. Last year, I had a career-high 29 games. Let's see if I can pass that. We're just coming off our first win against the San Antonio Spurs first win in the Intuit Dome, of course, against the San Antonio Spurs the other night, coming back from 26 down. Tonight is going to be on ESPN. The last time we were on ESPN, I was on TV a couple of times in overtime, and it was loud, and it was the first time I had seen people on social media talk about the Clippers crowd looks lit. It had been a minute since I had seen that. So that made me feel like really great as a fan. Like, even though we lost, I was just so happy around the hype. Like, ultimately, I just want our fans to, like, be hyped and, like, be respected. And because we have the most loyal fans in the league. Like, yeah, that is not even debatable. I will debate anybody all day for that. Tonight is going to be on ESPN. And as I said, I want everybody to boo every touch. But let's look at the Philadelphia 76ers and what they're coming in with. They're 1-5. They won their first game of the season against the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm sorry, no, they lost to the Bucks. What am I saying? They won one game in Indiana when Maxey went off for 45. He's been their leading scorer in 5 out of the 6 games, with Kelly Oubre Jr. being the other one. Paul George has only played one game so far this season. And that was their last game at Phoenix because he had that injury in preseason. So already, Paul George, the injury problems have taken him to Philly. Now, of course, for all I know, he could still play 70 games this year, but I doubt it. Not even to wish ill will on him because I don't want anybody to get hurt. But he's just injury prone. He just played his first game of the season, and I saw how it ended. They were down by 2, and and this man waited the entire. By the way, Maxey had like 32 points. He had 14, 16. Let me check. 15, and he's got the ball with like 15 seconds or more left. And he's wasting the whole clock as if it's a tie game, and then goes to his step back against Grayson Allen, ends up getting a decent look, and bricks. And it's just funny. And then after the game, he said that he thought that they were down by 1. So he's like, if we were down by 2, if I had known, I just would have just gone for the 3 for the win. It's just like, you're claiming that you didn't know the score in your first game. Like, I'm just there. That's what makes me happy. Those kinds of things make me happy that he's not here anymore. But he's going to be here tonight. And I think it's going to be so interesting. I really wish Kawhi were playing. I mean, so badly wish he were playing because I think we would win for sure. But they have 2 stars to our 1 tonight. That's the bottom line. However, we've seen that Paul George can look like a non-star in games against good defenders. And we've got some good defenders, including the guy that locked him up in the playoffs last year and held him to 19 points in the first round, Derrick Jones Jr. And Derrick, the last 2 games, hasn't been as great. So I expect a big showing from him. When he hears the boos coming from the wall, he's going to be like, oh, okay, they really don't like this guy right now. So I'm going to lock him up like I did last time. Chris Dunn, I would like to see him on Paul George. I don't think Paul George will. I mean, the best he can do is shoot over the top. We'll see. Chris Dunn's going to get right into him. And then we've got, I mean, he's not going to attack the rim with Zoo. It's going to be about his jump shot, in my opinion. So hopefully we limit him to no open looks. Honestly, I would be so, like, anti-PG as a coach. I would just be like, I am not going to let him beat us tonight. We're going to stay home on him every time, even if it means giving up the layup. We're just going to not let him get in any rhythm and let Maxey beat us. But, you know, who knows? Depending on how many good looks Maxey's creating for the roller and pick and roll, that may be a horrific defensive strategy. I just don't want Paul George to get open threes because I think if he starts making some open threes, he might get in rhythm. And here's one thing I will give Paul George. He comes back from injuries, and oftentimes it looks like he hasn't even been hurt. Like, he'll come back like it's nothing. Now, last game, he had his classic 4 for 14 kind of scoreline, 1 for 7 from 3. So knowing PG, he might be due for the flip side on Wednesday. Obviously don't want to speak that to existence, so I want us to be as tight defensively on him as possible. In terms of pick and roll coverage, there's nothing major to say. I think Zubats is going to be in drop coverage. We're going to go small in the second unit. I mean, Philly is 1-5. We're 3-4. We need to win this game for the fans. We need to. Because at the end of the day, you know, Paul George with all the failed promises and acting like he wanted to bring a championship here so bad. No, you left for more money. Let's keep it a buck. It's okay. It's fine. But the fact that he left for free, didn't even, like, the best he tried to make it work was Golden State, but they weren't going to offer Kuminga or Pod, so it was nonsense conversation. They just wanted us to take Andrew Wiggins' salary. Paul wasn't willing to take a pay cut to try to win a chip, even though we gave him everything he wanted, and he wanted to stay home. Like, to me, that's where it's scummy. Like, he acted like he was so about this. Like, you know what I mean? And clearly, you got butthurt that the franchise didn't pay you the same as a better player that you admittedly said was better than you, Kawhi Leonard. And then eventually you're still getting paid the same amount as him, and nah. So Paul George, he flips flat back and forth about who he is as a player. You know, he's that dude some nights, and it's the way he talks and the way he acts. He's that dude some nights, and other nights he's not. And hopefully we get that not in this game. The fact that he left for free, that's part of why. If you're wondering why should Clipper fans be mad, that's why. So I hope we lock him up with our point of attack defense. I think Derrick Jones Jr. will be guarding Paul George and we'll put Terrence Mann on Tyrese Maxey. Hopefully Terrence doesn't get completely cooked. Maxey has given us the business in some of the recent games the last 2 years that I've been to, and we've lost both the last 2 years at home against these guys. So I really want a win. I think we may have lost that first game with Glenn Rivers as well because we were injured in 2021. But coming up, going to be talking about the short versus long-term feelings towards Paul, and also what I think we need offensively to win this one. I got to tell you a little something about Built. Listen up, renters. Ever feel like you're stuck in this loop of rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around and start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent and watch the Built points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Join built.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points with your rent payments today. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets before an event, and Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I used Game Time for opening night against the Suns. Pretty good. Try to use Game Time for the Paul George game if you have a chance listening to this before it's too late. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. So to finish off talking about this big one, Clippers, Sixers. The 1-5 Sixers, who don't have Joel Embiid, who's suspended for 3 games for getting into an altercation with a reporter who wrote a pretty nasty story about him and went beyond the boundaries of the court and basketball, talking about his family a bit. So Joel Embiid is suspended. Kawhi Leonard is also out. So Tyrese Maxey and Paul George versus James Harden and Norman Powell, who's playing at a debatably all-star level in this beginning of the season. It's going to be a good one. Now, what we need offensively is honestly James Harden have a better game. He has really struggled shooting the ball of late. I think you're going to see probably Kelly Oubre guarding him as the primary defender in this one. And in my opinion, if you're James, we need to see a steady dose of putting Tyrese Maxey in the action. I believe Tyrese Maxey will guard Terrence Mann. And I don't think they're going to switch that action. I think they're going to try to put 2 on the ball and make Terrence Mann create plays in the short roll. If that is the case, we need to give Terrence the ball and trust him because he is a good short roll decision maker. And also, look who the Philadelphia 76ers have on their team. They don't have Joel Embiid. So that changes what they have in terms of rim protection. They're going with Andre Drummond right now as their starting center, and they don't really have a backup center. They played KJ Martin, Gershon Yabusele, Adam Bona. Shout out Adam Bona, UCLA. Come on, you hear what I'm saying here? Andre Drummond. So let's put Terrence in the short roll if that's the case. Let's also make Andre Drummond guard pick and roll with Maxey at the point of attack. Let's not waste our time trying to go at Kelly Oubre and even Paul George. I think one-on-one defensively in a game like this, he's going to bring it. But Tyrese Maxey's going to be there for the taking. The Sixers do have some solid point of attack guys like Caleb Martin coming off the bench. Actually, no, Caleb Martin's been starting. So their starting lineup against Phoenix was Maxey, Oubre, Martin, Paul George, and Drummond. So you know in terms of creating shots, it's almost all going to come from Maxey and Paul George. But they have 3 good point of attack defenders there with Oubre, Martin, and Paul. Although I don't think Maxey, from what I saw in past years and in the playoffs, he's not a bad defender to me. He's just small. So I don't know. Can he guard James Harden? He moves his feet pretty well sometimes. But off the bench, they got former Clipper Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry. It's the offense that's going to be interesting. I've only watched them play a little bit of that game against the Milwaukee Bucks on opening night. So we'll see. It's got to be James Harden, though, for me. He's shooting right now 38% from the field and 29.5% from deep. I think he's due for a good three-point shooting game, but I think he also has to create good shots. I don't think a lot of the shots he's taken have been clean looks. And I know some might say, well, he's made that his whole career. I don't know. He's old now. He gets tired more easy. He doesn't have as much pep in his step on those shots. Doesn't have as much elevation on those shots. But, yeah, we need a good game from him. If Norman Powell has a bad game, I don't know if we can win. If we hold Paul George, though, even if Norm has a bad game, I think we can win. He's shooting 51% from the field and 45% from 3 right now and averaging 24 points. 25, really, 24.9. I mean, that's insane. Can he keep it up, though? I mean, I think if we could just get him averaging 20 plus, that'd be an amazing season for him, and I think he will. Zubats, can he have a big game? That changes a lot for us, in my opinion. Because if you look at those games against Denver and Golden State, Zoo was a beast. He's averaging 17 and 13 right now to go along with a block a game. I'd like to see a little bit more there. We got to keep Tyrese Maxey in check. We really do. And that comes down to a lot of Terrence. If we need to honestly switch Terrence Mann onto Paul and then Derek on Maxey as primary defender, that's going to be something that we could consider. But I also think if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, you're going to put Norman Powell and James Harden in that pick and roll and then go from there and then put Zubats in the action. Maxey, we got to be very careful with him coming off screens for threes. He can pull. So the point of attack guy has to be really good getting over that screen, or Zoo's going to have to come up a little higher into that high drop, or we might even have to start considering hedging, putting Drummond in that short roll. I don't know if he'll make great decisions. So we got to, if Maxey's draining, we got to make an adjustment with pushing Zoo up like we did in the game against the Spurs, or blitzing him just hardcore and making Drummond the decision maker. But yeah, offensively, that's going to be where we have to be solid, because I know we're going to be good defensively. It's just, man, we got to lock up Paul George and score offensively. It's going to be an exciting night. You can find all that content on how the game's going to go from an in-game perspective from the wall on my personal channel. And of course, we're going to be talking about the game right here on Locked On Clippers. Hopefully it's a Clipper win over Paul George in a hostile, historic night. Be sure to be loud. I'm not going to police anybody to do anything on the tribute. You can do whatever you want. I don't even mind if we give him some cheers. But he should be getting booed on every touch. Come on. Called us the B team as well, even though, yeah, we are. But not trying to hear that after you leave, dude. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more. You can also follow me on Locked On Clippers. Subscribe to the channel Locked On Clippers. And you can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. And, of course, if you cannot watch a video, make sure you're listening on audio. And as I mentioned in the beginning, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter that I write. It's the Locked On Clippers daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Just sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. Put some work into it, guys. Would really appreciate it. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. Let's get the W, baby. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.